Hello, this is Marc Reinhard. Welcome to the RC Racing TV and the Marc Reinhard special.
Yes, this month's RC Race is all about Marc Reinhard, who in fairness has probably won more races on our show than anybody else. Marc, we're going to start with one of your more recent victories. It was your third World Championship win in Germany, your home country. It was quite an easy World Championship because everyone else just crashed behind, didn't they?
Yeah, the finals looked pretty easy. I mean, the qualifying was still hard work because like 3 or 4 people who could make the TQ. And yeah, I was lucky that I could TQ the race because Gilles had some problems in the last run with his radio. And yeah, the finals, I was a bit lucky. Everybody crashed behind me after, I think, 2 laps already and had a pretty big lead, and I could cruise to the win, yeah.
So let's look at that leg 2 and you'll see one, probably the most spectacular crash we've ever seen on RC Racing. That's coming up now.
Marc Reinhard has been here before, needs to take this heat to hold on to his World Championship. We're off and running. It's a good start. Oh, and there's a little bit of action behind, but meantime, it's Reinhard who leads it out from Gilles Groskamp, who needs the result here, needs to win the next 2 races, really, to have the chance of wresting the World Championship away from the German. So Reinhard leads from Groskamp in second. Hagberg needs a result here as well, having not performed to his high standards in the first race as they zip across the line. And this is the battle for second place. And it is Gilles Groskamp, the Dutchman who now lives in Thailand, in second place ahead of the Swede Alexander Hagberg in the mainly green car. Oh, there's a touch there, and everybody's... Oh, and there's someone else going over. That's Hagberg, I think. And oh my goodness me, Groskamp is right over onto the early part of the circuit, the later part of the circuit. My apologies. That was a big incident, and that's a stop-go for Hagberg. Now, let's have a look at the start of this incident. Here's the tag. This is why Hagberg has been given the stop-go. Groskamp gets clipped by a couple of cars there. Then he gets rolled. Sort of recovers. Yes, he's back on his wheels. There's more action ahead of him. But what's he doing here? He's gone absolutely bananas, full throttle, completely out of control, and ends up, here it is coming towards us, launched into the air, goes on to the later part of the track, and ironically, as his World Championship aspirations disappear, there goes Marc Reinhard, surely on the way to defend his World Championship. And in amongst all of that, Reinhard leads by a country mile from in second place, Toyota Matsuzaki from the back of the grid in the bright yellow-bodied Yokomo machine. And then it's Prumper, Krapp, Wilke and Lemieux, the top 6. As they go through the hairpin, there's Lemieux just gaining on this little battle, which is now for third place. Prumper, Krapp and Wilke. Lemieux trying to get on the back of that, and it is almost on the back of that with the blue nose section to his touring car. There he is. And he's beginning to put a little bit of pressure on Victor Wilke with the yellow on the rear end of his car. As you see them come back towards us again. There's Wilke and there is Lemieux. Wilke just beginning to get a little bit out of shape. Obviously beginning to feel that challenge coming behind him. Marc Reinhard, by the way, is well away from all of this. As Wilke rolls out! Wilke rolls out of his position in 5th, and that's let Lemieux go through. Recovered quickly, but the American needed no second invitation and very quickly is onto the back of the German in 4th place, Christopher Krapp, and he's having a go as well at Prumper ahead of him. Very shortly, I think we're going to have 3 touring cars battling for 3rd place. Suzuki has got away from this and given himself a little bit of breathing space. And again, Lemieux, just the 3rd of those 3, looking to pick up any pieces from action ahead of him. Still can't really get used to the speed of these cars instant torque from the electric motors. Across the line they go. Look at that. That is real time. We're not doing anything with that as Lemieux goes down the inside, and that's a very clean overtaking manoeuvre. The second part of it, not quite so tasty. So the American Paul Lemieux now up into 4th place. Can he do anything about the 3 drivers ahead of him? It will be Hayato Matsuzaki, his next target. Oh, goodness me, look at that battle further down the field. 1, 2, 3, 4 cars. And really battling in the midfield at the moment. And there, I think that's Ronald Volker down there amongst that, among the rest of the drivers. And really, you do not want to be in among that in a world final. Much better to be Marc Reinhard out in front. And that is 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th. Harper, Volker, Krepp and Grosskamp that we are looking at. So the middle part of the top 10, and despite what I say about battling in the midfield, there's a lot of honour of course here, and it will mean better positioning in the overall standings at the end of the weekend. I suppose seeing that you came 3rd or 4th in the World Championships is better than saying that you came 8th, 9th or 10th, and potentially a springboard for sponsors and indeed for your own peace of mind. Now there's the leader, and that's the gap from Reinhard back to Matsuzuki Hayato. But we are coming towards the end of this encounter, and I think Marc Reinhard's just pacing himself here because he knows that he's going to win this one and defend, should I say, his World Championship. This will be 3 out of 4 runnings that the German has won in this championship. A quite remarkable run of results. And finally, we see a little bit of emotion from Marc, who can breathe a big sigh of relief. He has taken the World Championship in 2010.
So that was Marc winning his 3rd World Championship, but winning your 2nd World Championship was rather more difficult in Bangkok. In fact, probably one of the greatest radio control races we ever saw, that final leg when you got past Hara. I mean, where does that rank in your achievements, that particular race?
Yeah, I mean, the last final was just, to me, like the best race I've ever done. But the first Worlds, I always did. I mean, this stays always in my mind. So the first one is special. I mean, every World is special, but the last race, 2008, and the final with Hara was just, yeah, it was just perfect.
So let's look at that and perhaps the perfect overtake.
So this is it. It comes down to this race. Andy Moore almost urging his car forward before even we get the go signal. And Hara leads away. There's all kinds of carnage in behind him, but the first 3 have got away clean. Hara, Reinhard and Volker. Victor Vilker's already dropped back a couple of places there. So he was involved again in that early... That's a great camera position there. Really see the speed. 62.5 miles an hour on the speed gun going into that first corner. That's a scale speed of over 620 miles an hour. That's why these guys are so good, because their reflexes have to be absolutely sharp. And they're not on their own, as you can see. The leaders into the infield. Reinhard can still win this World Championship. He's telling Nick Damon that he thought he was out of it and he was really racing for second, but a win in this final heat and the world would be his. So whether he is going to drive the conservative race, car wasn't really set up to his liking in leg 2, but this looks better for the German. He's really hassling Hara, isn't he? Hot Body's leading from Tamiya in second. And we know that Reinhard can get just a little bit testy if he feels he's being held up. He's not frightened of getting a bit physical with the nose of his car. That was the point there in that infield section in the first leg where he put the Japanese driver on his roof. And Reinhard is right in the wheel tracks of Atsushi Hara. Very strong through here, the German. Likes the technical part of this course. A lot of drivers saying there's rather too much braking for their liking. But it has, I think, been a very successful layout certainly we've had some cracking racing here. And Reinhardt, look how quick he is there. He's keeping the power on so late, riding the curbs, risking getting the car sideways. This is the battle for the lead. Can't get any closer than that. Tremendous stuff. And Reinhardt just deciding that for that moment, discretion was the better part of valour. Coming down to 2.5 minutes to run. And the leaders have been locked together from the start of this race. Atsushi Hara with a first and a fourth position. Marc Reinhard with a fifth, excuse me. Oh, and a second, and he just gets up the inside. The crowd reaction was all you needed to hear there. That was very close to an action replay of what happened in the first heat between these two guys when they were battling for the lead. Reinhard, though, managed to back out of it enough to give the leader a sporting chance there. Good driving by the German. Well, you can't deny that through those twisties, the German looks quick out. He's trying even to shortcut. And again, there's a collective intake of breath from the very knowledgeable crowd here. And down the inside and almost alongside for a moment. Reinhardt's got the quicker car. No doubt in my mind about that now, that the German has got the quicker car, but at the moment he just can't take advantage of it. Great driving by Hara ahead of him. The key here for the Japanese driver is not to buckle under the pressure. He's got to just drive his own lines and try to keep his concentration. Then it's all down to Reinhard in second there to make the move. There's all kinds of battles going on further down the field, but I daren't take my eyes off the lead. Again, locked together. First to the left, then to the right. Reinhardt's down the inside. He's through. He's through. And just listen to the crowd. You heard what they thought. Now let's have a look at this again. That's right at the end of the manoeuvre. Down the inside. Well, you know what? It's a bit robust, but side-to-side contact, not too bad at all. I think Reinhard had the corner there, and he managed to hold on to it. Oh, that's the mistake from Hara in second place. He's handed up back on his wheels. Well, that's just remarkable. Let's have another look here. Reinhardt, well, in fact, Reinhardt leaves a gap there. And I wonder, I'm going to take that back. I don't think that was a mistake by Atsushi Hara. I think he saw the gap. Look, you see the leader's gone a bit onto the curb, leaves the inside open. Hara thinks he can make it, but just misjudges the end of the curb, which sends him flying. Coming into the last half a minute of racing, and Marc Reinhard, the German, has driven an absolutely immaculate race, put pressure on poleman Atsushi Hara right from the start of the race. Found his way through into the lead. Robust, yes, but legal as well, I'm sure. The crowd loving the early part of this race, and then Hara looking for the gap down the inside to retake the victory. Just slightly misjudged on that red and white curb right in front of us now. And that is going to allow the German Marc Reinhard to come through for victory. Well, the margin here looks big, but I would say that's probably one of the best, if not the best, World Championship races ever.
Well, we've seen how Marc's won 2 World Championships, but deep down, I think this next clip we're going to show is probably his proudest moment. Marc, do you remember about 4 years ago you won the RC Racing Virtual RC Championship?
Ah, yeah, I think it was in Geneva at the carpet race.
No, this is the one which we did on computer at HPI's headquarters, where you won the virtual lap.
At HPI, yeah, I remember that. Yeah, but I think there was something on with Animo. He had to use a steerable radio, not a stick, and yeah, but it was pretty good.
He's been very modest. I mean, he actually said to us it was his greatest achievement. And I think 4 years on, it still is. It must rank up there. You must think that when you go to bed at night, yes, I've won World Championships, I've won European Championships, but I beat 3 other people on a computer in Derby.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's kind of different than normal racing, but yeah, it was fun.
It was fun. And you know what? Even I took part. Welcome to the hub of RC racing. This is where the magic is made and we put the programme together. But we all live for the weekend, us RC racers, but what do you do during the week if you want your fix of radio control? You can't just stroll up and organise a large meeting. Well, now you can, but virtually, thanks to VRC, Virtual RC Racing. But how close is the real thing, and does it really help? We decided to put together a little tournament featuring people you've seen on the show in the past and a couple of new faces to find out who is the best virtual racer of all.
It's hardcore, mate.
Whoa!
I get held up by back markers.
Beep, beep, beep. Yeah.
What's all that about?
Yeah.
Beep.
Sorry.
Beep, 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 beep.
Track conditions weren't right.
Gonna give me like 30 minutes in this thing.
Beep, 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 beep.
Oh!
Oh!
Yeah, that's it. You're not pressing.
Before we start, let's look at the game itself. Now, VRC sets itself apart from other simulations of racing games by actually being a simulation of radio control, down to the fact that you can actually use a proper RC set. This is one that comes provided in the bundle. It's a very nice 2-stick. There's also a steering wheel version, but also you can have a special dongle which allows you to use your very own radio. Now, luckily, this is a very own radio of a certain Mr. Andy Moore. You may have heard him. It's the closest I'll get to touching the Champions equipment, I can tell you. Anyway, let's look at what we're going to do. We've gone for the Pista Jody Scheckter. We've gone for a standard IC car, a touring car, and it's the best single lap over 5 laps of a run. So let's see who is the best virtual racer. Okay, I've chosen to use a real transmitter, Andy Moore's, hurrah. So all I have to do is turn it on, and it automatically syncs up with the program. Just press start practice. Okay, I'll go straight in. It's already calibrated. Off we go. I see the track, have a look at the graphics, and now's my chance to do 5 laps instead of time for these amateurs to try and keep up with. So here's your first view of the Pista Jody Scheckter. Long main straight there, followed by a couple of very tight hairpin turns, a bit tight there. The modelling of these cars is very accurate. You really do have to use brakes, good grip, and these are of course 1/10 IC touring cars. Class we've not seen much within RC racing, but very popular, especially on the continent. These cars are modelled with foam tyres rather than rubber. Have in real life a 0.12 engine. They have about 1.5 horsepower, but as you can see, quite difficult to keep the car on the track. Well, quite difficult for me to keep the car on the track and taking every ounce of my concentration. Right, now let's go and see what my best lap was. Let's see the fastest I could go around the Pista Jody Scheckter. Hitting the straight there, so you can see the top speed blown just about 90 kilometers an hour in second gear. Unfortunately, missed my braking point there for the hairpin at the end of the sweeper. But this point here, it began to get slightly better. Not exactly hitting every apex, but actually hitting the road, which obviously helped slightly. Quite pleased with this actually. It was one of the best of the 5 laps I had. Nice and smooth, nice and clear, and crossing the line in 21.6 seconds. Beat that, world champions. First up is top British driver Ben Cosgrove. Now, Ben is one of the early favourites here, as he actually does drive IC touring cars. But let's see who he thinks his main rivals are.
I think Marc Reinhard, I think he'll take the title on this one.
Let's see Ben out on the track. Now, as we said before, this should be nothing but plain sailing for a great drive. Oh dear. Well, that's a bit of an early mistake. Well, luckily you see the damage, very easy to repair, unlike the real thing. You just press the control reset button and your car is repaired for no money at all. Let's look at Ben's best lap. As you have a couple of practice, he's got a beautiful sweeping in the top corner there, a little bit wide. Track's quite complicated. You need to be able to brake and turn and move and various things that I wasn't quite able to do. But Ben really has got a superb rhythm going here. Looks very quick. Again, hitting each apex, a little bit wide there. But again, a nice sweeping through. And that should be a good time. 19.6. Well, that's slightly faster than me. Well, stay tuned to see if I stay last as we return to our virtual championship later in the show. And now back to our virtual championship. Next up is our own world champion Andy Moore. Now we'd like to point out that we did actually explain the rules to him beforehand, but we're not actually quite sure whether he was listening or we was too busy polishing all his very large trophies in the corner. So here comes Andy starting one of his laps. Now of course Ben did say he wondered whether he'd be able to handle the awesome virtual power of an IC car, and well, he's been doing reasonably well so far. Oh good, he overshot a corner. It was nice to see someone like Andy doing that, like us amateurs do as well. But oh no, he's tightening up quite nicely. Beautiful cut in there. Oh geez, he's in roll. This looks like a good quick lap, and we've seen the time. It's a 19.7, just a tenth outside what. But well, let's follow Andy another lap. Let's watch the maestro at work. Very good there again. Oh, look at this. He's cutting in the corners beautifully again. Well, this looks quicker. So I think we should see a new leader here. I think Andy will be comfortably in the hand at the end of this particular round. Let's see what he gets through this time. And it's a 19.8. How deceptive, but very, very consistent.
I was cruising around at about 50%, so I didn't make everybody look slow.
Well, interestingly, we actually explained to him after this point that it was single fastest lap. This rather upset our world champion, who thought it was the best average of the laps. Well, now over to everyone's favourite Marc Reinhard. Let's see what the German can do going for a fastest lap, Andy. Well, straight away, Marc showing his class in this form of race. Looking at it, you can actually see very quickly he picked up. This is actually only his third lap, and he was already getting really, really into the swing of things. And quite frankly, he was looking quicker than everyone. Hopefully, I think we will think if he falls off, he might not get a time. But let's see how his first time lap comes around in a 19.3. Well, he's already beaten Ben by 0.3 of a second. Remarkable again, and he looks quicker. Well, this is really, I think he's just showing off now. Look at that, took the curb brilliantly. Again, cut round again. Nice and clippy there. Well, frankly, I'm impressed beyond belief by the young German. Well, I'd say young compared to me. And a 19.1. Well, that's just amazing. Half a second faster than Ben, putting us all to shame. Marc, you are the virtual RC champion. How do you feel?
I feel pretty good now.
I mean,
yes.
How does this compare to winning the World Championship a couple of years ago?
I think it's almost the same feeling now.
It must be particularly pleasing that Andy was quite annoyed that he didn't understand the rules.
Yeah, but I think that's his fault if he cannot read the rules. So, I mean, he was consistent, I heard, but like 5/10 per lap slow. So
consistently slow is what you're saying.
No, not consistently slow, but I mean, overall time would be maybe better than mine, but it was just for one lap.
That's right, Marc. Well done.
Thank you.
Marc, so you've won so much already on RC racing. Looking to this season, 2011, what's the targets for you for victory-wise?
Yeah, I want to win every race, that's for sure. But this year I'm more concentrated to do off-road, so just trying to learn how to drive off-road. I don't expect any big results in off-road, but I just want to get better and better. And maybe at one time I can be in a man at the world, so just have some decent results. We will see. And
by off-road, you mean electric and IC?
Yeah, I'm going to make both electric and gas car. Yeah.
Marc, best of luck and thanks for being part of our special.
Thank you.
And don't forget, next month's RC Racing, we have another special with another special driver. But you have to tune next month to find out who it is.